I bought over 40 books in the last 3 months, so let's talk about them. Somehow I managed to get sick. I'm recovering now. I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm still sniffling a lot, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. The first books that we're gonna go through are books that I got at a local independent bookstore. The first book I bought from there was Blood Over Brighthaven. This is written by the author of The Sword of Kaigen, M.L. Wong. I have never read The Sword of Kaigen. It's another book that I really want to read. And I actually really wanted to read that before I read this, but I'm most likely gonna end up reading this first. This is probably gonna be prioritized in 2026 for me. I did pay full price for this one, so this was $19. The next book that I got was Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. I am really in love with this cover, and it has like sprayed edges. I think it'd be pretty cool. I know there's like kits for adding like a design, and I was thinking about adding a design to the books that have like plain sprayed edges like this. So let me know if you'd want to see a video where I do that. If you want to learn more about what this book is about, you can watch my December TBR video. I might need to blow my nose soon. Oh god. I pulled the mucus back. This book I got used. It was $7. The next book I got was This Is How You Lose the Time More by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. I was hearing a lot about this book for a pretty long time. And it's surprising because I feel like I was hearing about it recently, but it was printed in 2019. So I guess it just rekindled its popularity at some point. I don't know. But it's really interesting. It is written by two authors. It's two rival agents in this like futuristic war. I'm not gonna lie, this does sound like it's gonna confuse me. I think science fiction is one of those genres that kind of make me feel stupid, but I'm hoping that this one isn't too hard to follow. This was also bought used, and I got this for $5. The next two books that I bought, both books by George Orwell, so I got 1984. This cost $4.50. It was written in 1949 with sort of imagining of what 1984 was going to look like. And then the other book by George Orwell that I got was Animal Farm, which I did read in high school. It was one of those books where I was like, what am I reading? I feel like I probably didn't appreciate at the time the messages that it was sort of conveying. It was 16. Now, these are all the books that I got from Book Off. So again, I use Bookstore, but this specifically is Book Off. So the first books I got, the first two, actually I think this is a duology. Oh no, it's a trilogy. So the first two books in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. So that's Assassin's Apprentice and Royal Assassin. How funny would it be if this was not the second book and I actually bought the third book? They were both $2. So the Farseer trilogy is I think it's like a high fantasy thing along the lines of like Lord of the Rings, blah blah blah. There's something about being sick that's just making me not give a fuck about how I sound or what I'm saying. Anyway, it's like kings, knights, assassins. I really like assassins. It's probably like my second choice in any RPG. Great way to let everyone know that you're a huge nerd. But yeah, I mean, it would be Mage first, and then it would be Assassin. I like Assassins. I heard about this series from a creator on YouTube, actually. She reads a lot of high fantasy, and I've gotten a lot of great recommendations from her. I'm not going to name drop. I feel like that's kind of weird. The next book I got was Night Shift by Stephen King. I have read one of the stories in this book, and it was wild. It was a wild ride from start to finish. It was insane. And it was like gruesome, too. Why I'm smiling. Obviously, very morbid. I don't know how much this cost. Most likely it was also $1 or $2. I wouldn't say I'm a big Stephen King fan. I have enjoyed everything of his that I've read so far, which is not much, so I don't know why I said that. He's described as one of the best for a reason. This is Stephen King at his horrifying best. I would agree. It is definitely horrifying. The next book that I got is kind of an interesting one for me because I don't usually get philosophy, but it is Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. It was $2. It's kind of a series of principles that according to Lao Tzu, you're supposed to live your life by. The next book I got was Dear Mrs. Bird by A.J. Pierce, and it was $5. The book follows a woman, Emmeline Lake. She dreams to be a lady war correspondent in the 1940s during World War II. She sees a job advertisement and she applies for it, but she ends up mistakenly becoming a typewriter for this advice columnist, Mrs. Bird. And Mrs. Bird, she doesn't allow any letters that are negative or that she deems unpleasant. She doesn't allow any of those letters to be answered or published. All of those letters end up going into the trash. Our main character, Emmy, finds these letters and out of compassion decides to respond to them. I found it! I thought I lost this. It's a bookmark. It's supposedly inspired by Edward Cullen, and I thought I lost it, and I didn't. I found it. So, All About Love by Bell Hooks. The gist that I got from it is that like the author believes that we don't really know how to love, and this book talks about what is love and how are we as a society approaching love. And I got this for $1. $1. The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Kim Edwards. It was $5. This is probably gonna be another book that discusses love, more of like familial love. This father tries to give his daughter over to an institution, and instead she ends up being raised by someone who is both willing and able to love her. The next book that I got was a horror this time. I think besides Night Shift, the first horror, I'm pretty sure. It is A Haunting on the Hill by Elizabeth Hand, and it was $5. I don't often buy horror or like thrillers. The fact that it was a hardcover in good condition and like the price, it was just too good to resist. And I think this will be a fun time. The next book is a big one. Also a hardcover, also $5. It is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. He's also the author of All the Light We Cannot See, which is not a book I've read, but I think it's on my list. I remember when this first came out, I was hearing a lot about this book. I really wanted to read it. I never got to it. Now I own it, so I have no excuse. All right, let's move on. Next book that I found, that I fished out of book off shelves. This was $9, which is fair. It is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. This is a very new book, so the fact that I got it hardcover for $9 is kind of insane. I was hearing about Intermezzo all the way up till like a month ago, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. So I am really excited to read this one. I think this is the last book that I got at Book Off. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This was another book that was on my Goodreads that I didn't actually remember, but I remember hearing a lot about this book when it first came out, and then also when, its adaptation came out. So it's a book that I have been very curious to read for a while. Okay, taking a little bit of a break from the used bookstores. We are going to get back to the used bookstores. Now I'm going over all the books that I bought, basically from major retailers. So the first book that I got was Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. This is another book that is on my December TBR. This is by the same author that wrote The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. It's kind of a cozy fantasy, and I'm really looking forward to it. The next two books are both books by T. Kingfisher. The first was A Sorceress Comes to Call. I read this in October. Since my review, I've kind of learned that this was supposed to be like a humorous retelling of The Goose Girl. I see what the author was trying to do. I think it's just this wasn't for me. That's all. I talk about this book more in my October wrap up, so if you're really interested in to hear what I said about it, or what I thought of it, you can go check out that video. I'm not giving up on T. Kingfisher. And so that's why I'm excited to have the Twisted ones as well. I think this is supposed to be more of a horror. It follows this girl, Mouse. She's cleaning out her grandmother's house after her grandmother died. She stumbles upon her grandfather's old journal, and at first she thinks that it's just like the ravings of a madman. But it turns out that all of the things that he wrote about were real, and they're like in the woods right outside her grandmother's house. And she kind of has to confront these terrors. She's alone in the wood with her dog. That doesn't bode well for the dog. I'm looking forward to reading this one. I'm going to go into it with an open mind and try not to have bias. The next book that I got, I have to be honest, I'm a little bit scared. It is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This book is kind of described as the origins of that genre, and that got me really curious about reading it. I feel like there is a lot of discourse around what actually counts as dark academia and what doesn't. The books that I've read that kind of fall into that category: Babel by R.F. Kuang, If We Were Villains by Emil Rio, and then I recently read The Maidens by Alex Michelides. They're all marketed as dark academia. Dark academia usually involves a lot of Shakespearean literature, and that is not something I'm super familiar with. Am I terrified? Yes, 100%, but I'm going to give it a try, and I'm going to see what I think of it. I'm curious to see how this compares to books that are marketed as dark academia today. The next book that I got is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleore. This is another horror. It sounds like it's a little bit of a psychological thriller. I don't know, I kind of like psychological thrillers more than I like ghostly ones. Like ones that are just like blatantly like this is a spirit or this is like a supernatural force. I think the psychological kind of thriller horrors are sometimes more fascinating because the idea that this could all be in her head, she could all be imagining it, I think that's the scariest thing of all. Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I bought this book for my grandmother. I remember that she really enjoyed it, and then my mom read it after and she said that it was a really good book too. So I bought it for myself. The next book that I got is one that I heard about recently, maybe a couple months ago, and I have been really curious about. It is Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francis Morales. If you are able to find that center spot where the things that you love and enjoy intersects with the things that you're good at and the things that bring value to society, then in theory, you're supposed to be able to find true happiness in life. I feel like I am trying to find that center point. I'm really curious to find out what the secret is for these people who are living in this Japanese village. They seem to have life all figured out. I would love to also have life all figured out. Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. It is such a pretty cover. Look at all the little characters, all the women in the family. Oh, that's really pretty too. And it has like a little area to write like who this book belongs to. I've seen the movie, multiple adaptations of it, and it's just a story that I really love. And I've never read it, so I'm very interested in reading it. The rest of the books in this group are books that I either read in high school or I never got to read and I am kind of interested in reading. And the first one is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I did read this in high school. And this is another like dystopian sort of story. Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I remember really enjoying this book when I read it. The way that the dialogue is written, the way that Holden kind of talks to the audience. It's like a no bullshit kind of talk, you know? I just remember feeling like the voice was really refreshing. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. It's another book that I'm really excited to read again. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I've never read Lord of the Flies. I wouldn't be surprised if this book was kind of inspiration to a lot of the arena trope books that we have today. Things like The Hunger Games. I took a little bit of a break and now my lighting is completely fine. The next two books I also got from a kind of a major retailer. They're also both bought new. The first one I got is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Sounded promising as far as the thriller would go. I'm surprised actually at how thick this book is. I always have this like fascination with rich families and like all their secrets. You know, I love reading books that sort of unveil this dark side of a lifestyle that's usually romanticized. And then the other book I got is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I'm expecting that this is going to have a lot to say about class and racism. I'm really looking forward to reading this as well. I hope I can get to this in 2026. I mean, my physical TBR is so backlogged at this point. I might try to prioritize this one though. Anne of Green Gables, and it is another one of these Penguin classics, Penguin and Gloom books, just like Little Women. It's just so pretty. Okay, anyway, the back quote is, "Looking forward to things is half the pleasure of them." And I could not agree more. I've never read this before, but I've watched, you know, like the film adaptation. I don't remember which one it was. And then recently the Anne with an E series on Netflix I was obsessed with. And I just think it's a really cute story about this girl finding a found family, learning how to be a contributing member of society, and maybe potentially falling in love in the process. Is that a spoiler? Am I ruining Anne of Green Gables? The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. It sounds like it's a retelling of The Little Mermaid, or maybe it's just like a folklore inspired retelling of like The Siren. I'm trying to explore horror as a genre a little bit more. This really stood out to me as something that I feel like I would really like. It looks like a pretty short read. Like the text is not too bad, so I feel like this could be something that I can knock out in like a weekend or maybe even in a day. It was $17. I think I might prioritize this for 2026 as well. At that same bookstore, I got a copy of Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. Sheridan Le Fanu. I never read Carmilla. I did read Dracula. I know that Dracula is based on Carmilla, so I have always wanted to read it. There's no real reason why I haven't read it yet. I don't think it's really a spoiler to say that this is a vampire sapphic romance. Bought this new for the ticket price, so $16.95. The next book that I got was from a used bookstore. It is a pretty well kept copy of Wolfsong by TJ Klune. It was $11. I remember hearing a lot of things about this book when it first came out. I feel like I've said that about every book on this list. I don't read a lot of werewolf stories. I've read a lot of vampire stories or vampire romances, but not a lot of werewolf ones. So it's going to be interesting to read this. And I haven't read anything by TJ Klune yet. I do have The House in the Cerulean Sea, I think is what it's called. The House in the Cerulean Sea. I am excited to get to this as well. I don't know when I'll get to it, but I'm excited to. In the same bookstore that I got Wolf Song, I was about to check out and they had this little section right at the counter, these small paperbacks. I found a copy of The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. It is one of those series that I remember really loving when I was a kid, and it was one of those series that really got me into reading, but I never read the entire thing. Like, I never read the entire series. I remember reading this one probably multiple times. So when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I gotta get it. I still want to buy the whole series, but I couldn't resist. Oh, technically, this is book 2. Wait, do I just not have a good understanding of this? Oh, okay, guys, I'm dumb because I thought that this was book 1. This was actually book 2. I won't be reading this until I get Magician's Nephew and I read that first. It would be pretty cool if I could find the same or similar editions. Recently, a thrift shop opened up really close by to my home. Me and my husband went over there to check it out. It's like what you would expect. There's a lot of clothes, there's a lot of home stuff, but they have this whole section of books as well. They had this like buy 4 get 1 free deal. I think this might be the store that has the cheapest prices for used books that I've ever seen. Starting off strong, I found a copy of Beach Read by Emily Henry. I got this for $3.50, which I think is crazy. The ticket price is $16. I rarely buy romance. Emily Henry is one of those authors that so far I feel like all of the books I've read by her are like hits. I've read Funny Story and I've read Book Lovers. Funny Story was okay, but Book Lovers I really like. I know that I'm probably at least going to like this book. I don't know, I'm just really excited that I found this. That's the thing about buying books from a used bookstore. It's like almost like you're treasure hunting. Like it's so fun. I enjoy buying books new as well, and buying special editions. All that stuff is great, but I don't think for me it compares to like buying books that are used. Like going into the bookstore and like finding that deal, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting too passionate about used bookstores. But anyways, moving on. Margaret Atwood's The Penelopiad. This is another like Greek tragedy sort of retelling. I think like from the title you can tell that it's supposed to mimic the Iliad. If you have seen any of my videos that I have up so far, I really enjoy Greek retellings. There have been a lot of those that retell the story from the perspective of a female. And yeah, I mean, also Margaret Atwood is an author that I've always been wanting to try. This seemed like the perfect introduction to her writing. Oh, I didn't even realize she is the writer of The Handmaid's Tale. And I got this for $3. The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. I have to take the sticker off so I can read the synopsis. God damn, I hope I can take the sticker off. I bought this for $4. Oh fuck. Basically, one day everyone in the world opens their door to find a box. And in this box is information about how long they have to live. This situation kind of throws the entire world into chaos. Some people open the box and find out how long they have to live, and some people don't. And it really becomes a question of, do they wish to know how long that they'll live? And if so, what will they do with that knowledge? Like, once you know you have only, I don't know, like 3 months to live, what are you going to do in those 3 months? And I just think those questions are really fascinating. I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would want to know how long I have to live. And I don't know what I would do with that knowledge. It was $4. And I found a copy of Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. I got this for $3.50. This is the book that the Practical Magic movie is based on, the one with Sandra Bullock and the other actress whose name I can't remember. Love Practical Magic. I watch it every year around Halloween. It is not exactly scary, but it is a little bit creepy and very atmospheric. It's also a little bit hopeful. There is a love story that has a very interesting premise. If you've seen the movie, then you know what this book is kind of about. If you haven't, I can't say anything for the book because I haven't read it yet, but I love that movie. We're getting to the end. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. My husband told me something kind of interesting that this is like talked a lot about in the business world, and I was a little bit confused. I'm like, this is not this is not nonfiction, but that's interesting. I got this for $4. I don't know why I like to see like when these books are published, as if that means anything at all. Oh, this was published first time in 1993. That's the year I was born, guys. The next book, another classic that I've never read, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I got this book for $3.50, and I'm very curious to see what this is about. The next 2 books I'm really excited about because these are not on my Goodreads TBR. It's Sister Song by Lucy Holland. I hadn't heard of this book before. I just saw it on the shelf and I thought it looked interesting. It sounds like it's kind of like an epic fantasy. It's following these three children of the king. It seems like the king used to be the one who had access to this nature magic, and now his children do, and they're kind of navigating their powers as well as their desires for their life. And it has been blurbed by a lot of authors that I really like. For example, Anna Witten, author of For the Wolf. Sister Song truly reads like a ballad, beautiful and mournful, a melody that sticks in your head. Also the author of Ariadne, a beautiful reimagining of an old British folklore ballad. Excited to give this one a try. I got this for $4. The next book that I got, I think it is a book that I heard about when it was coming out. For some reason, I didn't save it to my TBR. The book is Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstein. And I didn't realize that this book was published in 2025. The concept is really interesting. It is a story about real US history. You know, it talks about the Civil War and slavery in America, but at the same time, it's also a little bit of a paranormal historical fiction. And I just thought that was really interesting. I don't know why didn't add this to my TBR before. I'm fascinated by it because it is, again, like a mashup of different genres. I feel like the aspect of a supernatural element will add to the story. And I got this for $5. We'll probably be reading this in 2026. Did I do a video talking about my 26 in 2026? I've seen people doing that. I've kind of been resisting because I feel like I never stick to the things that I plan. The next two books are a little bit weird. It's the chapter book series for children, but it was a series that I used to read a lot when I was a kid, and I've kind of just been wanting to try reading them again. I got two of the Magic Tree House. I think it would be really fun to read them again as an adult. It's going to be like reading a short poem. Maybe in the future, giving them away to the children in my life. Like not my children, but like my nieces or like my friends' children. I would love to be able to share the joy that I had when I was reading these books. I feel like these kind of books don't really ever age, but I guess we'll find out. That's why I'm reading them now as an adult. I want to see if the magic of these Magic Treehouse series books still live. I chose the ones that I feel like I remember the most. I got Mummies in the Morning, which is fun. And then we have Pirates Past Noon. They have other ones that I feel like, I don't know, don't really feel like there's a dinosaur one, but I was never really big on dinosaurs. I have one more thing, but where did I put it? All the way at the bottom because I suck. I don't remember if I said that the Magic Treehouse books were the last books. They are not the last books. I do have one more book. It is one of those advent calendar books, A Heart for Christmas by Sophie Jomain. I haven't read it. Today's like December 15, I think. I have 15 envelopes that I have to open. This was a gift given to me for my birthday, which passed recently. I just thought I would include it because technically it's a book. It takes place in the foothills of Mont Blanc in the Alps. It follows this girl named April. She's at her father's home for the first time in 3 years. She had a heart operation in the past, so she's always lived very carefully, but she feels like it's time for a change. She runs into her best friend's older brother, Augustin, the instructor extraordinaire, and she probably falls in love. Takes a risk with her life to fall in love, and probably tries to learn how to ski. I really like this concept of like advent calendar books. I just have to actually start reading it. Yeah, that was my last haul for 2025. I'm really excited about a lot of the books in this haul. I think a lot of them are going to go into my 2026 TBR. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books, if you're excited to read any of them. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon.